So you're sitting there wondering what the hell you're supposed to do with your life. Maybe you're scrolling through LinkedIn, watching people your age announce their promotions while you're still trying to figure out if you even like your job. Maybe you're watching YouTube videos about finding your passion at 2 a.m. because that's apparently what we do now instead of having existential crises in private like normal people. Here's the thing everyone gets wrong about finding your purpose. Most people think it's this grand, mystical journey where you suddenly get struck by lightning and realize you were meant to save dolphins or become a professional cheese taster. But that's not how it works. That's Hollywood nonsense designed to make you feel bad about not having your life figured out by age 25. The reality is much simpler and much more frustrating at the same time. Finding your purpose isn't about discovering some hidden calling that's been waiting inside you since birth. It's about paying attention to what you're already doing and figuring out why some things make you feel alive, while others make you want to fake your own death and move to a small village in Portugal. Most advice about finding purpose sounds like it was written by someone who's never had to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. They tell you to follow your passion, as if passion pays the bills. They tell you to think about what you'd do for free, which is great advice if you enjoy being homeless. They tell you to imagine your ideal day, and then somehow that's supposed to translate into a career path that makes sense. But here's what actually works. Instead of trying to find your one true calling, start by noticing what problems you genuinely want to solve. Not problems you think you should care about because they sound noble, but problems that actually annoy you enough that you find yourself thinking about solutions even when no one's paying you to. For example, maybe you hate how confusing tax software is and you find yourself explaining it to friends and family all the time. That's not just you being helpful, that's you identifying a problem you're naturally drawn to solving. Maybe you get frustrated when you see people struggling with basic cooking skills and you're always sending recipe videos to your friends. That's not just you being nice, that's you recognizing something you care about fixing. The key is to stop looking for some grand mission statement and start paying attention to the small things that consistently grab your attention. What makes you say, someone should really do something about this more than once? What problems do you solve for other people without even thinking about it? Now here's where it gets interesting. Once you start noticing these patterns, you'll realize that your purpose isn't some mysterious thing you need to discover. It's something you're already living, just in small, scattered pieces that you haven't connected yet. Think about it this way. You probably have friends who come to you for specific types of advice or help. Maybe people always ask you to look over their resumes. Maybe they ask you to help them plan trips. Maybe they ask you to explain technology or help them figure out relationship drama. These aren't random requests. People are recognizing something you're naturally good at and drawn to. But most people dismiss these patterns because they don't seem important enough to be a purpose. You think your purpose has to be saving the world, or CE if your purpose is helping you're in cancer or starting the next billion-dollar company. But what people communicate better? What if it's making complicated things simple? What if it's creating spaces where people feel comfortable being themselves? The problem with the traditional approach to finding purpose is that it assumes purpose is a destination you arrive at rather than something you build. It's not a treasure hunt where you're looking for some pre-existing thing. It's more like gardening, where you plant seeds based on what you notice growing naturally, then tend to those seeds until they become something bigger. Here's what nobody tells you about purpose. It's not supposed to be obvious from the outside. Your purpose might look boring to other people. It might not make sense to your parents. It might not impress anyone at your high school reunion. But if it consistently energizes you and makes you feel like you're contributing something meaningful, then congratulations, you've found it. The next step is figuring out how to turn these natural tendencies into something sustainable. Because here's the thing about purpose that all those motivational quotes leave out. It still has to pay your rent. You can't eat fulfillment, and landlords don't accept passion as payment. But the good news is, once you know what problems you're naturally drawn to solving, figuring out how to make money from that becomes a much more practical conversation. This is where most people make their biggest mistake. They think they need to quit their day job immediately and start some grand entrepreneurial venture based on their newfound sense of purpose. But that's like trying to bench press 300 pounds on your first day at the gym. You're going to hurt yourself, and then you're going to give up and go back to watching Netflix. Instead, start small. Really small, like embarrassingly small. If you think you're drawn to helping people communicate better, start by offering to proofread emails for your coworkers. If you're naturally good at making complicated things simple, start a group chat where you explain current events to your friends who don't follow the news. If you love planning and organizing, volunteer to coordinate your friend group's next vacation. The point isn't to make money right away. The point is to test whether this thing you think you care about is actually something you care about when you have to do it consistently. Because here's a fun fact about human psychology. We're terrible at predicting what we'll actually enjoy doing every day for years at a time. You might think you love cooking because you enjoy making elaborate Sunday dinners for friends. But do you love cooking when you have to meal prep for a family of 4 every single night? You might think you love teaching because you enjoy explaining things to people. But do you love teaching when you have to deal with 30 teenagers who don't want to be there? This is why the whole follow your passion advice is so dangerous. Passion is great for getting started, but it's not enough to sustain you through the boring parts, the difficult parts, and the parts where everything goes wrong at the same time. What sustains you is caring about the outcome more than you hate the process. So while you're testing out these small experiments, pay attention to how you feel during the boring parts. When you're helping someone for the 3rd time with the same problem, do you feel annoyed? Or do you feel like you're getting better at solving that type of problem? When you're doing the administrative work that comes with organizing anything, do you want to quit or do you find ways to make it more efficient? Here's another thing most people don't realize. Your purpose doesn't have to be completely original. You don't have to invent a new way to help humanity. Most problems worth solving have been around forever, and most solutions are just slight improvements on things that already exist. The world needs more good teachers, not revolutionary new education systems. The world needs more people who can explain complicated things simply, not groundbreaking communication theories. And here's the part that might surprise you. Once you start consistently doing something you care about, even in small ways, opportunities start appearing that you never would have seen otherwise. It's not magic, it's just that you're now paying attention to a different set of problems and solutions. You start noticing job postings you would have scrolled past before. You start having conversations that lead to unexpected opportunities. You start building skills and relationships in areas you actually care about. But the most important thing is this: stop waiting for permission to start caring about something. Stop waiting for someone to pay you before you begin solving problems you're drawn to. Stop waiting for the perfect plan before you take the first step. Most successful people didn't have their whole career mapped out from the beginning. They just started doing things they cared about and figured out how to make it work as they went along. The truth about finding your purpose is that it's less like discovering buried treasure and more like learning to see what was already there. You've been giving people clues about what you care about your whole life. You just haven't been paying attention to the patterns. So here's the bottom line. Finding your purpose isn't about having some life-changing epiphany while eating a sandwich. It's about connecting the dots between what you're already naturally drawn to and figuring out how to do more of that in ways that actually matter. Stop overthinking it. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop expecting it to look like what everyone else thinks purpose should look like. Your purpose is probably sitting right in front of you, disguised as the thing you do for people without being asked. It's the problems you notice that other people ignore. It's the conversations you have where time flies by without you realizing it. It's the stuff you're already good at that you don't think counts because it comes easily to you. The only difference between people who feel like they have purpose and people who don't is that the first group started paying attention to these patterns and decided to lean into them instead of dismissing them. They stopped waiting for permission and started treating their natural interests like they might actually lead somewhere useful. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. You don't need to start a nonprofit. You don't need to change the world. You just need to start noticing what you're already doing and do a little more of it on purpose. Everything else will figure itself out as you go. Trust me, it's way easier than you think.